Hello YouTube, my name is Isabella and today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review for Windwitch by Susan Dennard. Windwitch is the sequel to Truthwitch, a young adult high fantasy story. It focuses on our two main characters, Safi and Isolde. One is a Truthwitch, one is a Threadwitch, and they get wrapped up into this big plot that essentially has them running for their lives in Truthwitch, and this is the sequel. This video will be spoiler free, so you don't have to worry about it, but I loved Truthwitch. I gave it 5 stars. I reviewed Truthwitch, so if you're interested, I'll leave a link down below. I had a decent time with it. I was the slightest bit disappointed, but overall I do think it was a good story and worth reading, and that's why I want to review it today. Now, for the world building, I continue to be impressed. I was very impressed with it in Truthwitch. I didn't expect much from it at all, and I thought it did a wonderful job. And Windwitch, I think, expands on the world very well. There's not too much for me to review in here, but I am appreciative of how the landscape as a whole of this world is evolving. I still am a fan of the fact that there are different cultures and types of people in here. Customs and things are observed and they're not universal, because that's one of the most irritating things in young adult fantasy. And the element of magical creatures that were added into here were definitely very appreciative. It wasn't just thrown in there. In my opinion, I thought it was very well thought out, well crafted, and the world in here is something I continue to really enjoy. I really appreciated the growth in here from all of our characters. Every single one of them has growth, and looking at where they started from in the first book to now, they have grown so much. I cannot wait until I get more from them and what their arcs will be in the entire series. Some of the character moments and relationships in here had me not gasping, clutching my pearls, no, but just so excited for what that means for them in the future. But there was one main character whose perspective we got was a little annoying, just because he was deliberately obtuse for the whole book, and luckily we've grown and we've learned, so hopefully we won't have to listen to him meander on again. But he was annoying. His plotline was a little bit too drawn out. I understand that it was probably done that way so all the climaxing can happen all together, as opposed to his storyline kind of ending short. There is an element missing in here that is very heavily featured in the first book. I'm not going to mention it, but it was just generally a bummer. It was my favorite part of Truthwitch, and to have that missing, and missing for the entire book, was a disappointment. I understand for the greater overall arc of the story that this thing probably had to happen, and I'm glad that there is somewhat of a remedy happening at the end of this book, so that shouldn't be an issue again. I didn't love it whilst reading it, personally. I will say I did really appreciate the addition of some new characters and new faces in here. The perspectives added and the depth added to these new characters, or ones that we knew about, I think given a lot more to think on, especially with the way that people were portrayed in the first one. I really appreciated that, and I thought it was really, really smart. In terms of the plot, was a bit of a struggle. It was a little slow to start, and I understand why people were sort of thrown off, because Truthwitch was really, really fast paced and there was always something going on, and then this one is slow to start. The plot is not bad by any means, and I know it feels like I'm picking it apart a bit, but there were things that I think could have been edited or fixed a little bit to make the story a little bit tighter. Ultimately, it felt a little unfinished. A lot of things don't really go on in here, or a lot of the revelations and stuff that happen are at the very end, and I thought that could have been spaced out a little bit better. Also, one of the plot lines was really annoying because, again, I mentioned the character was being annoying, so just reading from his perspective and him being dumb was just annoying. And I do see how this was definitely necessary for the overall story. This is going to be a 6-book series with a novella prequel. Things have to happen to create the big epic scale near the end, and I think this was tying things and starting some threads, pun intended, together so that the rest of the story could be a lot tighter. I did enjoy the plot though overall. I really liked, there's one storyline in particular that had me super excited, and I did really enjoy the way that like the climax and that kind of stuff, the reveals that happened there, and the way the story ended really made me excited for the next book and the rest of the series. So ultimately I didn't end up being like crazy disappointed, and the writing I thought was just solid. It's not my favorite in terms of prose, but I do think Susan Dennard excels in terms of her characters. I said that before, I'll say it again. The way the characterization of her characters goes and the way she portrays them, I think, is just superb. They always act in ways that is in line with their characters, even if it's annoying. But I do really appreciate her character work, and it shines in her writing. All in all, I thought this was a solid and good follow-up to Truthwitch. Was I the slightest bit disappointed? Yes, but I have high hopes for the future books. I think that this series could be a favorite. I really have enjoyed my time with these next two books. I won't be reading Windwitch super soon just because the fourth book has been pushed back to 2021. I ultimately gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Still a good follow-up. I know I complained a lot about the plot, but it was still a good story, and I still do recommend this series. So that is it for all my thoughts on Windwitch. I actually think for once I filmed a fast video, a fast review. Like, who is she? I don't know. Let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on Truthwitch or Windwitch. Don't talk about Windwitch though. No spoilers. No thank you. But yeah, and that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!